I just wanted to come and do a very short video to just put a little more flesh on the bones of this last transit of Pluto moving into the last degree of Capricorn, the last transit in Capricorn in its 248-year orbit. So, but just before I start to talk about Pluto, I'm filming this on August 26th, and just to say that Uranus is slowing down to its stationary position. It's barely moving. It's at 27 degrees of Taurus, and it will stay at 27 degrees of Taurus all through the rest of this month and almost to the end of September as well. But on the 2nd of September, it comes to be stationary retrograde at 27 degrees 15 minutes of Taurus, and that's when its symbolism, as always with particularly the outer planets, is magnified. We already are starting to feel that, because at really about a week to either side of the station day, we feel the symbolism building. So Uranus, as many of you know, is the planet of radical sudden change, shocking news, disruptions, chaos. It's the planet of truth and awakening. And if you haven't seen my conversation, very inspiring conversation with Nancy Rebecca from a few days ago, she channels the blue light beings from Sirius, and they were saying very clearly that from the 10th of August, this month, in fact, it's a whole new episode of truth for humanity, no more lies at any level. And so I'll put the link for that below, because I think you'll find it really positive and really encouraging. And it plays into this symbolism of the station of Uranus. So very much to do with truth, awakening. There could be power outages, cyber attacks, it could be disruption to aviation. It could be increased seismic activity, but very much it's to do with revolution and rebellion. A lot of revolutionary energy, people demanding a more equal voice, people demanding to be heard. So it's this eruptive, explosive energy. And so isn't it interesting that that very same day that Uranus becomes stationary retrograde and is magnified, the very same day Pluto, which is already retrograde, moves back into the last minute of Capricorn, 29 degrees, 59 minutes of Capricorn, and will stay at that last degree of Capricorn from the 2nd of September till the 19th of November. So as Uranus is erupting, potentially in all kinds of demonstrations and protests, which you don't necessarily see on the mainstream news, a heavy hand of Pluto representing top-down control comes in very strongly as well. And so for these, and I've mentioned this in a couple of recent videos, so for these next 2.5 months or so from 2nd of September, we may feel that this top-down power, this authority from the top, whether it's in governments, corporations, institutions, it's also, by the way, linked to monarchies, religions, wherever you've got a vertical top-down structure that is unequal, with elitism or powerful or rich people at the top telling poor people at the bottom what to do, that is very much Capricorn energy. And so that may appear to be magnified from 2nd of September to 19th of November, which is why I've been saying that the old world, Capricorn, the old structures, the old systems, will appear to get louder, but actually be more hollow, because it's the last gasp, as it were, in this cycle of 248 years. So Pluto won't move back into Capricorn for about another 230 years. So certainly not in this lifetime. Now, as you may remember, Pluto moved into Capricorn in 2008. And within a few months, we all remember we had the financial crisis, because Pluto in Capricorn isn't just linked to the things I've outlined. It's also linked to big business and big banking. If you ever saw the movie The Big Short, that is a terrific movie to explain what was actually going on. It's a fabulous movie, very exciting to watch, but it's very much linked to banking and big business. And it's also, remember, we are still very much within the US Pluto return. So Pluto in general in the world isn't just having this effect, but if we look at the chart for the US, and I use the chart, which I think is the most popular one amongst astrologers, of the 4th of July, 1776, 10 past 5 in the afternoon, Philadelphia. Natal 1776 Pluto is in the second house of the country's economy. So this transiting Pluto retrograding is coming very, very close indeed, certainly well within orb to that US natal Pluto. So that suggests that we may see more fundamental change, some really fundamental change, linked to beginning in America, perhaps the banking system, the financial system, in some way playing out while Pluto is at that 29th degree of Capricorn, because it's the anoretics, the crisis degree around the things I've described. It's also interesting that if we look at the chart for the Wall Street crash in 2029, and I'll put the details of that below so astrologers can take a look at that, the midheaven, which in a country's chart, an event chart, represents the sort of status and the reputation of that country, situation, whatever. The midheaven of the Wall Street crash is at 29 degrees 35 minutes of Capricorn. Now, Pluto moves back within 3 minutes of that. It moves back to 29 degrees 38 minutes of Capricorn by the 12th of October, when it stations and starts to move direct. That will be a super powerful time, a few days to either side of the 12th of October. So it doesn't come exact to the minute to that midheaven, but my goodness, it's within a gnat's hair, as they say. So all of that may suggest that we will see some big change in the financial area, the big business area, governments, corporations. This is going to be about power issues. The validity and legitimacy, because of the Jupiter square to Saturn as well, of those top-down structures, because we're gradually moving to a much more horizontal structure in the way that society is set up. Now, the process of Pluto is to reveal, whichever sign it's moving through, its process is to reveal any corruption or anything that's not for our highest good, that no longer serves us, reveal it and clear it out. That's its process. So this is Pluto's last chance, if you like, to do that between 2nd of September and 19th of November. It's its last chance to do that. And so this is going to be very interesting. So Nancy, Rebecca, in that conversation, talking about the blue light things, talking about, truth has to come to light, that no more lies. That is very much in line with strong Uranus transits, but also very much this very specific Pluto transit, the last gasp of Pluto in Capricorn within this 248-year cycle. Pluto is also linked to debts, deficits, default, taxes. If you remember the whole setup of the US, 1776, that people had left England to escape the onerous taxes of King George at the time. It was very linked to taxes. So interesting that Pluto ended up in that second house of the US chart. So, and so just be very aware. And as I said in the last video, if you have any planets between 28 degrees of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, up to 1 degree of the fixed signs, which are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, you may be feeling this intensity and this snake shedding a skin, this permanent fundamental change happening in an area of your life. So see where Pluto is falling at 29 degrees of Capricorn. Remember that it spends a long time in each house. It could be 16 to 20 years roughly in each house, but nevertheless it produces really deep, fundamental and permanent change, particularly if it's aspecting a planet or an angle for you. Kind of death and rebirth process. In addition, I also want to mention that the ruler of Capricorn is, of course, Saturn. Saturn is in the mid degrees of Pisces right now, so 16, 17 degrees of Pisces. And it's interesting if I look back, because Saturn is about limiting, contracting, withdrawing. It is this contracting, limiting energy. And when it entered Aquarius, the sign of freedom, on the 22nd of March 2020, within a day, 23rd of March 2020, and I do mean 2020, most of the world went into lockdown. So there was a limitation on freedom. So when Saturn entered Pisces in March 2023, I did a couple of videos about possible manifestations, the themes of what this may be about. And I'll put those two videos below. Could be a lot of videos below this. And I think it was in the part one, the first video that I did, when I was talking about what Pisces represents, because Pisces is linked to film, the illusion, the theatre. It's linked to Hollywood. It's linked to glamour. It's linked very much to the media. It's linked to drugs, altered states, pharmaceutical drugs, addictions, pharmaceutical companies. It's also linked in its less positive expression, both Pisces and Neptune, linked to lies, deceptions, that kind of thing. It has many other incredibly positive aspects, to do with unconditional love and healing and all that kind of thing. But particularly the things I've mentioned, with Saturn moving through Pisces, and I referred to this really in those videos that I did back 18 months ago, I felt that there was going to be contraction, reality check, accountability around areas like the media, Hollywood, pharmaceutical drugs, that kind of thing. I think that's beginning to happen. And because it's also linked to lies and deceptions, again, going back to the Nancy Rebecca video, I think, it's going to be the job, if the job of Pluto is to reveal what no longer serves us in those Capricorn type structures, the job of Saturn in Pisces is also to reveal anything that's no longer for our highest good, particularly linked to those areas I've talked about in any lies or deceptions or illusions, that kind of thing. And so Saturn begins to move out of Pisces in May 25, moves into Aries, retrogrades back into Pisces in the September of 2025, and then moves fully out of Pisces into Aries in February 2026, with Neptune as it happens, exactly. So that's going to be a really major new beginning for humanity, actually, but that's a whole other story. And so this is going to be a very interesting period, particularly the last few months of 2024, I think are going to be, spectacularly interesting. And so even though these top-down structures appear to be more powerful, it is the last gasp, if I'm looking at it astrologically. And I really want to remind you of an analogy that I've used in several videos, but it's so good I think it's so relevant for now, that in my early 20s, I was going off to do 5 months of traveling on my own as a small, fair-haired English lady. And I was traveling through India and Nepal on my own. So I did a very basic martial arts course. And part of the course was that we had to split a thick builder's plank with our hand, bare hand, and you really hurt your hand if you tried to just focus on the plank. And the whole trick that the teacher taught us, and I was in my early mid-20s at this point, the trick was to not focus on the obstacle, but focus on where you want to get to. Focus 6 inches below the plank. If you did that, if you focused 6 inches below the plank, it was remarkably easy to split the plank. I think I remember splitting 3 in a row and feeling like Hercules. So that's a very helpful analogy for now, because there is so much going on in our 3D world, so much on the news that can make us feel hopeless, pessimistic, we're done in, it's, the end, there's no hope left. Focus on where you want to get to. Switch off the news. First big step. But also, a few days ago, I had another wonderfully inspiring conversation with a lady called Hope Fitzgerald, who's very well named, and she was guided to lead a group up to the Temple of Love at Mount Shasta at Lion's Gate and do a particular meditation, a particular ceremony, which was all about freedom for humanity. And in that conversation we had, and again, I'll put the link for that below, she describes how with her group, this huge sword appeared in the meditation. She was able to create a tear or a rip. She called it a tear in what she called the film around the earth. And I'm sure you understand what she meant by that, the film that goes all the way around the earth. She created this very clear tear. And that represents a major breakthrough, Uranus, for the freedom of humanity. So listen to that, because both of those conversations with those incredibly inspiring, gifted ladies, I'm just asking the questions, they're the ones with the gifts and the experiences, I think will really help to give you a different vision. And the real trick here, as I say, is to lock on to the vision that we're creating, to lock on to love as your docking station. Because I think if we can start to create a vision, we can put some layers on the blank canvas of what new Earth represents, of what we want to create. It becomes easier to achieve. It is just kind of course, we're always using energy to create. We've always done that. We've always created from the invisible. But if we can start to paint a picture in our imagination of what this is going to be like, it's easier for more people to join us. And so, imagine more freedom. Imagine truth. It's impossible to lie, because we're all going to be able to read each other's energy field very easily. We're going to spot dishonesty super easily as we move more into the light body. Imagine where all of nature is abundant. Imagine abundant food growing on trees, fruit everywhere that you can just pick. There's no shortage or scarcity for people. Imagine that all living beings have love and respect. The elderly, children, animals, trees, birds, every sentient being, it's quite Buddhist actually, every sentient being has love and respect, compassion, joy, peace, finding joy in every moment, no war, no poverty, no disease. And you may think this is fairy tale pie in the sky, but why can't we create that when we come together as humanity? I feel really emotional now, because astrology is guidance for us, but astrology is half of the picture. We are the powerful co-creators. So let us take this modeling clay that astrology gives us. Because what I've been describing here, so I'm in a funny kind of limbo zone at the moment, because what I've just been describing here astrologically is astrologically accurate, but it feels so old. I don't know how you feel, but energetically, it just feels so old, because I'm already, like so many of you, focused on what's to come. I'm hearing all the time about groups setting up. little decentralized groups to grow food, to come together, to work in harmony, to share resources of new technologies, new free energy technologies, people coming together to clean up the seas, clean up the land, clean up the pollution. It is so exciting. And these new medical technologies, healing technologies, scientific technologies are going to take us in leaps and bounds. The past is going to go to dust. We're barely going to be able to remember it. I was talking to Nancy Rebecca about this because the future is going to move so quickly for us in an incredibly positive way. But we are the ones that play the music. We are the ones that form the modeling clay. We are the ones that put the layers of paint on the canvas. So let us make that a beautiful, beautiful, loving, joyful, compassionate vision, abundant vision, where everybody cares for the trees, the birds, the animals, everything. And that is entirely possible if we come together as humanity. I feel this so profoundly, that love is a fire when we come together. It's not weak, it's not passive, it's a fire. So make that your focus day to day. Keep coming back, whenever you've got a period where you may be listening to something online, make it something joyful, make it something uplifting. Don't listen to the gloom and doom. We've done that to death. This is old energy now. It's falling away. It's a done deal. Focus on what we are creating and step into that manifesting power that all of us have. And even those simple free 15-minute meditations that I suggested on a Sunday evening that are ongoing. 7 p.m. UK time, no Zoom links, no recordings, no nothing. We come together energetically in cyberspace, connecting with our hearts, holding hands, and lovingly through that vortex of energy, that tsunami of love, we are absolutely creating ripples in the quantum field structure. We are changing the morphogenic field to create a more beautiful world that we're going to step into very soon. It's manifesting already. So I know that I bang this drum a lot, but the more of us that can focus on that, where we're trying to get to, rather than the obstacle, is pivotal in how fast this happens. So I hope that's added a little bit to the picture of what I've been talking about in other videos, and hope it's helped you. And thanks so much for listening. God bless. Bye for now.